The cover-up of the Epstein files didn't start last year with Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, and Kash Patel. It has been going on since Trump's first term. And if we want to understand his connections to this criminal network, and if we truly want justice for the victims of Epstein's and Trump's crimes, we have to start in 2019 with Epstein's mysterious death and the even more mysterious circumstances surrounding the prison guard who had information. In the latest release of the Epstein files, more and more details are coming to light. We're learning more about the very subject Donald Trump wants to talk about the least, and that is Epstein's death. Because it makes it unmistakably and crystal clear that this cover-up has been orchestrated by the Trump administration for years. Trump's first and second regimes have gone as far as possible to hide the Epstein files. In Trump's second term, we have now seen it out in the open, but during his first term, it was much quieter. Quieter, perhaps, around Epstein's death. That's exactly what I want to explore. But it starts with the most recent release of the documents and the perhaps biggest story that has come out of them. Something Ro Connor talked about here.
So are you confident that through this subpoena, you will sit across from and finally get some answers from the Attorney General?
I'm confident we'll sit across from her. I'm not confident that we'll get answers. Her modus operandi has been to come there and insult members of Congress. But this Epstein cover-up is not about politics. I mean, we won that vote 24-19. A number of Republicans, like Nancy Mace, like Tim Burchett, voted with the Democrats to subpoena Pam Bondi. This is about an Epstein cover-up. It's about a broken Donald Trump promise. He ran saying he was going to release these files. And people are upset. They're upset that rich and powerful people raped or abused these young girls, and that half of the files are hidden, and that the survivors' statements about who these men are hidden. So I believe that this coalition will continue to grow more powerful, and it continues to show a crack in the MAGA base.
There's been so much talk and analysis and coverage of the Epstein files that kind of maybe gets lost to the people going about their daily lives. Can you speak, Congressman, to what is still missing? A lot has been put out there, but boy, a lot of that's been redacted and a lot is still not out there. So what do you want to see? What do you want to get your hands on?
About half the files have been put out, and that has led to former princes being prosecuted, former prime ministers being prosecuted, major resignations in the United States. People see that a lot of people did a lot of bad things, but half the files still have not been released. What are those files? Some of them are survivors' statements to the FBI where they named the rich and powerful men who may have abused them. Those were redacted back in March. They still have not put them out. Some of those files they simply have hid. In one case, the most serious case, there was an allegation against President Trump by a woman who claimed that she was raped as a minor. I have no idea whether that allegation is true or not. But here's what I do know. They released one of the interviews, FBI interviews with this woman. They have not released still 3 other witness interviews of this woman, and they've provided no explanation for why they haven't done that in blatant violation of the law.
Congressman, those seem to be the key files that the public and members of the Democratic Party, and clearly some of your Republican members as well, want to see, the ones that are missing pertaining to Donald Trump. First of all, are you confident that those FBI notes are actually, and 302s are actually still there? They haven't kind of disappeared totally. Do we know that they're still in the file somewhere? And do you think this is the best chance you're going to get for the public to be able to see those specific files? Are you confident that the public will see those specific files about whether Donald Trump sexually abused a minor?
I'm not confident that those documents are still there in the condition that they were in the original. I mean, they could be there and they could be blacked out. So it's unclear whether they have tampered with these documents.
It's obvious that Donald Trump's administration is willing to do anything to cover up the Epstein files, and that they will spy on, attack, and threaten anyone who gets in their way. So why should we believe they wouldn't have gone just as far during the first term, when far less was being said about Epstein? Why shouldn't we believe they would have done everything possible to protect Donald Trump? We recently saw that a state investigation in New Mexico into Epstein's ranch where reports claimed the bodies of young girls may have been buried, was taken over by the Justice Department under Donald Trump and then promptly shut down. So why shouldn't we believe the Justice Department steps in whenever it can at the state level? These questions have become even more urgent with new reports about Epstein's mysterious death and the prison guard who makes the situation even stranger. One of Epstein's prison guards reportedly Googled him just minutes before his body was discovered and also made a mysterious $5,000 cash deposit shortly before the alleged suicide. One of the guards supervising Jeffrey Epstein searched online for the sex offender shortly before he was found dead and also made the cash deposit 10 days before the supposed suicide in his prison cell. New Justice Department documents reveal that Tova Noel was one of the 2 employees at the Metropolitan Correctional Center who were accused of falsifying reports claiming they had regularly checked on Epstein during the night before his death on August 10, 2019. The guards were fined, but the criminal charges against both of them were later dropped. Noel searched online at 5:42 a.m. for the latest news about Epstein in prison and again at 5:52 a.m., less than 40 minutes before her colleague, Correctional Officer Michael Thomas, found the disgraced financier hanging in his cell at 6:30 a.m. That comes from an FBI record of Noel's internet search history from that night. At the beginning of her shift, the 37-year-old Noel had reportedly been shopping for furniture online and sleeping during work instead of performing the required checks every 30 minutes. The FBI highlighted this disturbing internet search in its 66-page forensic investigation of the office computers used by Noel and Thomas. It was the only search specifically highlighted. When Noel was questioned by the Justice Department in 2021, she denied searching for Epstein. "I don't remember doing that," she reportedly said, according to a transcript. She also claimed the FBI records were incorrect. Noel, who has since been sued in Westchester County Supreme Court for alleged assault in a new job, was also identified in an internal FBI report released with the Justice Department files as the mysterious orange-colored figure seen around 10:40 p.m. near Epstein's cell in blurry surveillance footage. She testified that she did not know why Epstein had extra bedding in his cell. The other guard on duty reportedly slept between 10 p.m. and midnight. According to staff, a prison employee entering the cell block alone would have violated regulations. So the claim is that this guard, who had Googled Epstein shortly before his death, was also the blurry figure seen in the video, even though her presence there would have violated prison rules. That raises serious questions. Reports were falsified and the charges were dropped, just as reports surrounding Epstein's death were falsified, according to newly released documents. Remember, it was claimed that Epstein had committed suicide before that had even been confirmed. And when a press release first stated that Epstein had taken his own life, it was dated the day before. So if you are a prison guard who knows what is about to happen and knows a press release is about to be issued, then you might be waiting for it, right? You have the man in the cell. Why would you be Googling what he is doing in prison unless you were waiting for that very press release that was quickly released with almost no apparent oversight? There are simply too many unanswered questions here. But they suggest there was a deliberate cover-up, or at the very least a deliberate failure to properly investigate Epstein's death and the people around him. That alone is devastating. A missing minute was reportedly cut out by the Justice Department, and there has been no investigation into it. We keep seeing more evidence showing how suspicious, at the very least, Epstein's death was, and how little anyone seems to have cared about it afterward. Very, very mysterious, with virtually no oversight. But oversight may finally be coming in many ways. That's what Robert Garcia is announcing with a new round of hearings the Oversight Committee will hold with officials from the Trump administration to get to the bottom of all this and finally bring accountability.
And the Oversight Committee has a new letter out tonight calling on a range of new witnesses to agree to testimony. It is a demand letter, and they have subpoena power if they want to raise the stakes, and it includes a host of people including former Obama White House lawyer Kathy Rumler. Her spokesman says she welcomes the opportunity to appear, so that suggests progress. But overall, she is part of 7 new individuals. These would be new witnesses subjected to this interview process, including Bill Gates, Epstein's longtime assistant, Leslie Groff, who we learned from the files was under DOJ scrutiny, and some other big names. This is a developing story. I'm joined by Congressman Robert Garcia, who's a top Democrat on oversight, part of this whole process. What can you tell me about this letter tonight, and what happens if some of those on here don't agree?
Well, look, first let me just begin by saying that we support those names. These are individuals that we have actually directly requested Chairman Comer to subpoena and to get testimony from. We have been pretty consistent in also forcing votes. We were going to force another vote tomorrow on Howard Lutnick. I'm glad now that Secretary Lutnick is going to come forward without any sort of subpoena and testify willingly. And if these other individuals will do the same, that is going to be a very important step for transparency and to ensure that we get the full truth on the Epstein files in this investigation. So we've said from day one, we will talk to anyone. We don't care what party they are, who they served with, or how powerful they are. If they know any information about Jeffrey Epstein,
if they don't,
they should. Then we should send out a subpoena to every single one of them to come forward and force a testimony.
This list includes individuals who we know substantively were in the orbit. Leon Black was someone who had a lot of money going back and forth with Epstein. And Rumler ultimately recently was pushed out of Goldman Sachs. The files show a whole range of interactions. Do you also view this as part of the overall progress, or do you view this as weighted in the other direction of partisanship, in that Doug Band is tied to Clinton, Rumler's tied to a Democratic administration, although many other Republican administration officials are not on this list? How do you view this list of names?
Look, I think obviously there has clearly been some kind of partisan direction from Republicans, and I think you've seen that in the last few weeks. And certainly, I think when the president, who has called this investigation a hoax, but then a week later will say that he wants Republicans to only go after Democrats. I mean, clearly there is a partisan nature. But at the same time, we want an opportunity to talk to anyone that was in Epstein's orbit. And so we don't really care their political party. If they have information, they should come forward and talk, which is why folks like Howard Lutnick, who's obviously the Commerce Secretary, should come before our committee. But I also want to remind the chairman and everyone else that the person that appears in the files, certainly more than all the folks you just mentioned, is actually Donald Trump. So if we really want to get to the bottom of what actually happened and why there's this cover-up, the person we should sit and talk with is President Trump.
I think it's only fair that we ask these questions and insist on hearing the answers, no matter how much the focus ends up being on the Justice Department or not. The focus should be on the Justice Department, but maybe it will end up elsewhere. I don't think it's excessive, crazy, or conspiratorial to ask these questions, especially since all the supposedly crazy, exaggerated, or conspiratorial questions we've asked in the past have turned out to be correct in hindsight. They were justified, and they needed to be asked. So I will continue asking these questions on this show, and if you want to support that, you can, as always, hit the subscribe button and leave a like on this video. If you made it all the way to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep fighting, everyone. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, we'll see you soon.